For some 90 years, the Church of the Brethren in Nigeria, or Ecclesia Yanawa Nigeria as it's called here, has flourished. The early missionaries from the U.S. coupled their teaching of the Christian faith with the building of schools, hospitals, the drilling of wells, a highly successful rural health program, and the church grew all over northern Nigeria. It became one of the largest Christian churches in that part of the country. Even when violence flared up between Muslims and Christians beginning in 2009, EYN was able to be a leader in promoting peace between the two faiths. As a peace church, EYN modeled how followers of Jesus Christ should respond to violence against them by refusing to retaliate and taking the lead in working at building relationships between Christians and Muslims. All that despite the burning of EYN churches and the murder of church members by raging Muslims. But in 2014, the crisis in Nigeria took a new turn, a much more deadly, ominous turn. The Islamic extremist group Boko Haram now began advancing through the region, taking over entire towns and villages, kidnapping children, killing people, and destroying churches. Thousands of members of the Church of the Brethren in Nigeria, or EYN, along with many Muslims, have fled their villages to escape this violent terrorist group whose goal is to kill all who try to prevent them from creating an Islamic state with Sharia law. Boko Haram's kidnapping of almost 300 schoolgirls, most of them EYN members, in the village of Chibok stirred international outrage for a time. There were vigils and prayers for their return throughout the U.S., especially among Church of the Brethren congregations. But the repeated attacks have seemed to hit EYN the hardest, because the northeastern part of Nigeria is where EYN is the largest Christian church. By late October, Boko Haram had expanded their area of control, attacking and overrunning the towns near the large city of Mubi, including the village where the headquarters of EYN and the nearby Cult Bible College are located. The attack on the church headquarters and KBC came without warning and began with gunfire as students were meeting for class. People by the thousands fled from their homes, most on foot, into the nearby mountains, others by car, many of them dodging bullets as they fled.
I left everything, I ran for my life, and I escaped.
I spent the whole day running in the bush.
Valida Marcus, a student at Mubi, also fled with others into the bush on foot.
It was tiring. At the point I was tired and I couldn't make it anymore. I just told them to go and I'll just stay there. But I got helping hands and people carried me on and we moved on.
Yahya Adamu, a pastor at the EYN church in Michika, was shot by a Boko Haram gunman as he was fleeing on his motorcycle. He spent over a week in hiding, nursing 3 bullet wounds as he worked his way towards safety and eventually a hospital in Jos. This woman was heading to church when Boko Haram attacked, killing her brother-in-law, forcing her into the mountains and a 9-day walk to a safe place. Nearly everyone, it seems, has an escape story. Melchizedek Marcus was on a bus that was stopped at gunpoint by Boko Haram, and all passengers were asked their religion. Melchizedek boldly told them he was a Christian. The Muslims were ordered to one side of the bus, the Christians to the other, and they were told they had to convert to Islam.
They said we are going to be killed. Well, they threatened us to kill us. Well, some of us refused, while some agreed. So they joined the rest of the group, while us that did not agree, they slaughtered 2 people from us. Yeah. Then I don't know what happened. They now left us. Don't know. I think it's Christ.
They said, go ahead, you're free to go.
Yeah.
They will ask if you're a Muslim. If no, okay, will you become a Muslim? If no, then they will what? They will slash you. They will kill you.
The results of these attacks across northern Nigeria have been devastating, especially to EYN members. Although the numbers keep growing all the time, church leaders report that at least 6 EYN pastors have been killed by Boko Haram attackers, at least 8,000 EYN church members killed. Almost 70% of all EYN churches or worshiping centers either destroyed or abandoned. But for those who have survived, the struggle is far from over. Estimates are that at least 170,000 church members and thousands more connected to EYN churches have fled their homes and are now living either in refugee camps, some of them in neighboring Cameroon, or with relatives in other, for now, safer places of Nigeria. The situation for many of those thousands of people is urgent. Money from the Nigerian Crisis Fund in the U.S. was able to provide some initial assistance to some of the displaced people, such as this food, blanket, and bucket distribution in the city of Jos, organized by Rebecca Dolly, the wife of EYN President Samuel Dolly, and the woman who shared EYN's situation at the 2014 Church of the Brethren Annual Conference. Rebecca's organization, the Center for Caring, Empowerment, and Peace Initiatives, or CEPI, is one of the partners through which aid has been channeled to the most vulnerable of the displaced people. CEPI has distributed thousands of dollars worth of food and supplies from U.S. Brethren to those in need.
What is required presently is providing food for those people where they are, not only to the displaced, but even to the family who are hosting them.
The Church of the Brethren in Nigeria is spearheading a huge, multifaceted response to the crisis, and while food is a primary need, another is housing. To meet that pressing need, EYN is coordinating the construction of simple mud brick and tin roof living quarters at several locations to build homes that will be made available to both displaced Christians and to Muslims who are also fleeing Boko Haram.
Those Muslims that are running together with the Christians should also have a place where they could continue to build a relationship and understand each other.
Groundbreaking began in December 2014 on this project, which will accommodate more than 700 people, including over 400 children from 80-some families. Many families are still separated, with one parent still in Cameroon.
People are desperate. People are desperate. They lost everything. That is why they are so desperate.
Another need is trauma healing. With about 2/3 of the church displaced, many with tragic experiences and the loss of loved ones, healing from the experience is critical.
Emotionally, people are traumatized. Spiritually, people are traumatized and thinking, where is God in this situation?
The Peace Program of EYN is already providing 3-day workshops for pastors, women's groups, and lay leaders in each displacement area. The U.S. response to the crisis in Nigeria was underway long before the EYN headquarters were overrun by Boko Haram in October. U.S. Brethren had been raising money originally to help repair churches that had been burned, but now the need has grown to monumental proportions. U.S. Brethren are gearing up to support EYN through the goal of raising $2.8 million through 2015. But with a situation so volatile, there is need to be flexible and respond to new and changing challenges. For now, the primary need is for prayer for our Nigerian brothers and sisters, for monetary contributions, for long-term volunteers who can help with the distribution of material aid and the building of homes. The relief work is led by the Crisis Management Team of EYN, which has the task of providing emergency food for tens of thousands of displaced people, with a focus on EYN families, but offering food to others, including displaced Muslims. Reestablishing EYN headquarters in the Jos area, and reopening Cult Bible College on this land, which is already owned by EYN, not far from Abuja. Assisting the relocation of displaced EYN members from resettlement camps in Cameroon and elsewhere into safer communities where they can sustain themselves through regular jobs and farming. Offering trauma healing workshops in communities where displaced people are located, and working at promoting a peaceful resolution to the crisis, and offering educational opportunities for children, including those in the displacement camps.
This is not a short-term project. The problem is so big and it's going to take years. We have a 5-year plan that we are working on, and it will take millions more dollars to help the church in Nigeria to rebuild it.
This is actually the largest single humanitarian project the Church of the Brethren has ever undertaken. And we hope and we pray that Nigeria will be transformed. But our prayer also is that the church in America will be transformed because of the generous giving and obedience to God.
For decades, U.S. Brethren have worked closely alongside the Church of the Brethren in Nigeria in education, healthcare, and church work. Eventually, that work was turned over to EYN, but we now have a chance to work closer together to respond to a new challenge, one that may take years, even decades, to meet. The leaders of the U.S. Church and the Nigerian Church believe that God will lead EYN out of this crisis into a new and stronger people of faith in Nigeria.
I keep wondering, if we had not had a relation with the Church of Brethren as we have today, what could we have done with the present situation? Because our life support, since this thing happened, is the Church of the Brethren together with the Mission 21.
The Church of the Brethren in Nigeria has been displaced by violence, but they are not being abandoned. Like Velika Marcus, who described how people carried her through the difficult mountain terrain, we too have an opportunity to help carry EYN through this difficult time. The deep faith in God and commitment to each other exhibited by the EYN Church sustains them. But now is clearly an opportunity for their brothers and sisters in the U.S. to walk with them, to share their burdens. The Apostle Paul wrote that when one part of the body suffers, we all suffer, and when one part is honored, we all rejoice. We are all invited to take part in the honoring of this 90-year partnership in the work of God's kingdom.
By now you've seen many scenes of life in Nigeria with people that I've had the privilege of walking together with during this very difficult time in Nigeria. People who are part of our church family because we are bound together by the water and the word. I hope it moves you so deeply so that in the coming days, weeks, and years, you will walk with me and walk with the church family in Nigeria as we continue the work of Jesus peacefully, simply, together. Thank you.